Ich habe mir übrigens neulich mal die Intro-Musik ganz angehört. Und die ist ziemlich cool, wenn man der mal länger zuhört. Leider habe ich da jetzt nicht die Geduld für, deswegen werde ich direkt das Spiel laden und weitermachen. Denn wir haben viel zu tun, wir müssen diesen Fall lösen.
Those look nice, but given the choice, I'll always side with pie over cake.
Ich habe ja in letzter Zeit einige Point-and-Clicks gespielt und da ist mir aufgefallen, dass es eigentlich ziemlich angenehm ist, dass man hier nur die Lupe zur Verfügung hat. Also man kann mit Leuten reden und man kann Sachen angucken, aber man hat nicht die Wahl, den Kuchen jetzt zu nehmen. Und bekommt dann natürlich auch von ihm nicht erzählt, dass man den Kuchen nicht nehmen kann. Das ist ziemlich
cool. A bunch of assorted baking products. Don't waste your time with those, Miles. We've got a murder to solve.
Hallo, ist es Kuchen? Was hast du gegen Kuchen?
Well, I never had much of a sweet tooth, but even I'd consider buying some of this stuff. You know, if I were still alive. Minor detail, I know.
Bist du aber nicht.
The stuff in that day-old box doesn't look half bad. More like 3/4 bad.
Ha ha ha.
A very wise man once told me, never go poking around the back rooms of bakeries. I think you'd do well to heed that advice.
Dann reden wir mal mit Mrs.
Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
What can you tell me about your brother?
Ronan was the best brother anyone could have asked for. He took care of me after our parents died. Carriage accident. I was only 9 and he was 13. Ronan went out and found work and managed to support the both of us. He was just a child himself, but he kept us out of the gutter. Or worse, the workhouse.
How did you hear of his death?
Ronan comes by to visit me every day after he finishes work. When he didn't come for 2 days in a row, I got worried. I went to his apartment, but he wasn't there. So I made a report to the police. Yesterday, they contacted me and asked me to come to the mortuary.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss, Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. Please, find whoever did this to him. Ronan deserved so much better.
Heißt sie nicht Las Pay mit Nachnamen? Wieso heißt sie denn anders?
What do you know about your brother's murder?
Only what the police told me. He was shot at close range outside that pub in the Chum. Nothing was missing, and his wallet had money in it, so they said it wasn't a robbery. I didn't recognize the clothes he was wearing. I had never seen them before, and they were far too big for him. I still can't believe he's gone. He was the only family I had left.
Dr. Edwards at the mortuary might be able to give us some more detailed information. The only thing we'll get out of this one is more tears.
What sort of life did Ronan lead?
You know, just normal. He'd go to work, come visit me afterwards, and go home. He didn't have much of a social life. At least he never mentioned any friends to me. I always hoped Ronan would meet a nice girl to settle down with, but he was so shy, you know.
Where did Ronan work?
At the Grips Home Taxidermy Shop in Gascone. I always thought it was rather macabre work, but he enjoyed it. Bit lonely, though.
Ist sie nicht die Ehefrau?
Can you give me the address of Ronan's apartment?
It's at 1172 Bushmill Street. I have a spare key.
That would be most helpful. Thank you.
Okay, ganz viele neue Orte zu besuchen.
So, this is your bakery.
My husband Gerald and I have had it for almost 10 years.
Is it just the two of you? Do you have any children?
Alas, no. Some extra hands would be most welcome in the kitchen, but we haven't yet been blessed. It's such a shame that Ronan never got to be an uncle.
Ist ihr Bruder? Bruder?
What are your thoughts on the outcome of the election?
Oh, I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. It hardly seems to matter now.
Yes, of course. My apologies for bringing it up. Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Nothing new to ask her about. Probably best to leave her to her work.
Okay. Sein Apartment. Da hat er gearbeitet. Waren wir da schon?
I wonder how many layers of advertisements you'd have to cut through before getting to the wall.
Nein, hier waren wir noch nicht. Interessant.
I can't make heads or tails of it. But I'll bet you 10 crowns it doesn't say welcome.
Vielleicht heißt es einfach Opiumnest. Ich da jetzt gleich.
Yes? What do you want?
I'm looking for a man named Darius. I believe he may be inside.
Yeah, I don't know anybody with that name. So if that's all you wanted, get lost.
Might I come in, please?
This is private property, and I don't know you, so no.
My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I
Lass mir
demand you let
keine
me
Wahl.
in the name of the law.
The law? Is this your idea of a joke?
No, as I said, I'm a private investigator.
Then I really don't have to let you in. You bothered me enough. Get out of here!
Something tells me we won't be getting in there anytime soon.
RIP. Hätte ich sie vielleicht.
No answer. Looks like you blew your chances with this place.
Ja, das sehe ich. Danke. Tja, schade. Ach du Schande.
Hello and welcome to the Gripsome Taxidermy Shop. Please let me know if I can be of service.
Der ist ja interessant. Und das hier ist auch interessant.
Is that supposed to be a lion? I wonder how many people it took to bring down this brute. There's a small button on the base. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. What will they think of next?
Interessant.
Reminds me of the one in the Dupre house, except that one actually looked alive. There's a small button on the base.
Welcome to the Gripsome Taxidermy Shop. Please enjoy our displays and be sure to consider us for all your taxidermy needs. Just a reminder, we stuff animals only.
Danke. Das habe ich gebraucht.
Exotic dead fauna from every other continent. You never even need to leave Vespuccia. I thought owls were supposed to be wise. How'd this one let itself end up on display in a place like this? That leads into a room with even more dead things. It's such a shame we haven't the time to stick around and explore.
Ja, richtiges Shame.
I was wondering if you might answer some questions for me.
Of course. What can I help you with?
Interessantes.
I was
Gesicht.
told Ronan Lespay works here. Do you know him?
Ronan? Yes, of course. That is to say, I know he works here. I haven't had much interaction with him. He mostly keeps to himself.
Does he have an office or workspace I might have a look at?
Now, wait just a minute. Why would I let some random stranger off the street in to look at an employee's workspace?
Because I'm a private investigator and I'm trying to get some information.
Well, even if that is the case, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Ronan does have a workspace, but it's completely bare. He doesn't keep anything here.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered 4 nights ago?
I had no idea. That's
Ich
awful.
dachte mir fast schon,
What
dass er
happened?
nichts weiß.
That's what I'm currently trying to find out. Do you know if Ronan had any enemies? Anyone who might want to do him harm?
No, as I said, I didn't speak with him much or know much about him. But now that I think about it, I did notice a strange man waiting around outside the shop a few days ago.
Tell me about this strange man you saw.
At the time, I didn't think much of him, but the more I recall, the more I realize he was being very suspicious.
What did he
Ja.
do?
He just stood outside across the street, but he seemed to be focusing on the building. It was as though he was waiting for someone.
Do you remember what this man looked like?
I didn't get a very good look at him, but I do remember some things. He was tall and had a heavy build, like a boxer or a dock worker. He had a beard, I think, or mutton chops at the very least, and as far as I can recall, he was wearing all black. He also had on some kind of cap. I'm sorry I can't give you a better description, but that's all I was able to distinguish. My eyesight isn't very good, I'm afraid.
It'll have to do. Thank you for your help. Anything you can tell me about the shop?
Plenty! This is New Britannia's most sophisticated taxidermy shop. Unlike other taxidermists, We work with modern technology to get results they could only dream of.
Oh.
What does that mean exactly?
Using steam tech, we are able to create the illusion of life in these beasts. Just take a look at our floor samples. The parrot and gorilla are two of our finest works. They really speak for themselves.
Oh yeah,
Well,
ganz
the parrot
toll.
does at least. I think it would frighten our customers if the gorilla did too. And once ethericity is harnessed as a viable source of energy, we'll get even better results.
This guy is way too excited about bringing dead things back to life.
Yes, fascinating. Moving on. So how did you get this job?
Oh, it isn't a terribly exciting story, I'm afraid. I just saw an ad in the Gazette for a clerk position. I never expected to learn so much about taxidermy.
I'm sure he's amazing conversation at parties.
Ja, so wie
Any
ich.
thoughts on the recent election?
I'd really rather not talk about it. I don't know how the people of this country could put someone like Hart Leroy in charge.
I know what you mean. Leroy may be a champion of the common man, but Atwood's vision for the future is more important right now.
I couldn't agree more. Leroy wants to forsake all the technological advances of the last decade and take us back to the Dark Ages. Next thing you know, he'll be bringing slavery back.
I doubt he'd go to such extremes.
Ich nicht.
Perhaps we should drop the subject. I get a bit passionate when it comes to these sorts of things.
Ich hätte
Thank
das
you for your
alles
help.
verhindern können. Das
I'm
ist
here
sehr
to serve.
traurig. Ich muss es irgendwann nochmal durchspielen. Ich werde es nicht tun, wahrscheinlich, weil es ist viel zu viel Arbeit.
I don't
aber,
think
ich würde natürlich gern den Lauf der Geschichte nochmal ändern, weil das gefällt mir echt nicht mit diesem Typ. Okay, habe ich hier noch irgendwas übersehen? Nachdem ich am Anfang ein bisschen Schwierigkeiten hatte, läuft es jetzt auf jeden Fall besser. Glaube
Quite
ich.
the collection of exotic items in here. Ronan appears to be a seasoned world traveler.
Or at least knows someone who is.
Ich muss kurz die Musik auf mich wirken lassen.
Just looking at this painting is making me feel seasick. Locked. Naturally. Locked. This one is scarier than the other masks. Wait a moment. I think I saw something shiny in the back of the mouth.
How about that?
Now to find out what Mr. Lespay finds so precious. Aha. A letter from someone called Jimbo?
Next week will be a year since we met. I can honestly say my life has changed for the better in every possible way, and I will always hold July 8th as a special day in my heart. I can't wait to see you again, Jimbo. Interessant.
This one appears to be from Emily.
Ronan, Gerald and I will be celebrating the new year and would like to invite you to spend it with us. Please feel free to bring along any guests you'd like, especially any lady friends you might have. Oh, my love, Emily.
A model of the SS Joondalup. Looks like a merchant vessel to me.
Joondalup.
A model. Looks like you found Ronan's journal. Perhaps this will be able to give us some more insight into what he was up to before he died.
There are two entries, one from this year and one from last.
So, start with last year's.
July 8th, 1843. I've decided I need to get out more, so I'm going to a club in Gascon tonight. Stuffing animals has taken its toll, and I need to talk to someone who isn't Emily or my coworkers. Gerald told me about a place called the Crimson Cat. I'll try it, and if I don't enjoy myself, I'll just come home. Now for this year's entry. July 8th, 1844. Today is our 1-year anniversary. We're going to meet at the Cat again. I love him, but I wish he wasn't so attached to that place. Emily is so nosy, I worry that she might follow me and discover the truth about Jimbo. If we moved around, I wouldn't worry, but with him, it's always the Crimson Cat. I really shouldn't complain, though. What we have is something truly special.
Well, it seems that our best hope of finding this Jimbo character is to visit the Crimson Cat.
Die Crimson Cat, okay.
Let's see. October 21st, 1843. The air is growing cold and is reminding me that I need to purchase a new pair of boots for the winter.
Danke
I
für
don't think
diese...
this entry will be of much interest. March 11th, 1844. I must have eaten something last night which didn't agree with me because I've had a terrible case of the runs.
Ja, danke sehr.
Probably best to skip this one.
Agreed.
Nein, ich will noch
June
mehr.
17th, 1843. Someone brought in a rare big-eared hopping mouse from Australia yesterday.
Ja, welch ein
Stuffing it
Ereignis.
was quite a challenge as the organs were difficult to remove without damaging the body. I think I'd rather not read about Ronan's taxidermy process any further. November 9th, 1843. I have an uneasy feeling of dread today. Last night I had a frightening dream where fire rained from the sky and people were afflicted with an awful disease. I'm just going to focus on my work
Corona?
today. Perhaps the feeling will pass.
Okay.
October 21st, 1843. The air is growing cold and is reminding me that I need to purchase a new pair of boots for the... I don't think this...
Ooh, this teacup could use a washing. I'd be surprised if it isn't permanently stuck to the desk.
Ist es?
It's empty. Too bad. They appear to be a pair of letters from Ronan's landlord.
Give it to me. Ronan, with regards to your request for an extension to pay this month's rent, I will gladly give you until next month. You have always been a reliable tenant who has paid on time, so don't be concerned. I hope you resolve your issues. Danforth. Ronan. Das ist August, September, 2 Monate später. I understand we all go through financial difficulties, but I'm afraid I can't extend my generosity beyond the end of 2 months. Please have the rent ready by then, or I will have no choice but to seek legal actions against you. Schwierig.
It's empty.
Tja. Ist hier noch irgendwas?
It's empty.
Okay.
This mask looks African. You should try it on. It'd be an improvement.
Ha, danke.
Some kind of owl mask. The hair looks incredibly familiar. This one is scarier than the other masks. Ronan's book collection mostly consists of cheap pulp adventure novels, but this top shelf looks interesting.
Schwarzes Rhinoceros. Elefant. Känguru. Koala. Ach du La. You must be aware, dear reader, that the customs of the Orient differ greatly from our own. You would do well to familiarize yourself not only with common ones, but the more obscure and clandestine ones as well, lest you offend anyone on your travels. Opium use. At the turn of the century, travelers to the Orient would often seek out the most exotic pleasures, which is to say opium. Nowadays, the influx of immigrants from China to Vespuccia has caused a significant drop in this type of tourism, as many opium dens have appeared in El Presidio, with some even known to exist as far as in New Britannia. In any case, opium dens are open to all who seek to indulge. Known colloquially as riding the dragon, the use of opium recreationally for relaxation or as a social activity is a common pastime. Baiju. If you're offered wine, make sure you understand what exactly is it you're about to drink. Chances are it might be a baiju, a clear liquid, usually distilled from fermented sorghum, Although other grains may be used, southern China versions may employ glutinous rice, while northern Chinese varieties may use wheat, barley, millet, or even Job's tears instead of sorghum. The Jiku starter culture used in the production of baijiu mash is usually made of pulverized wheat grains. As a foreigner, drinking baijiu may be a shocking experience. It has been known to be used as a way of proving oneself in a group. This high concentration of alcohol is often too much for anyone not used to it. Exercise caution. The last thing you want is to end up face down in a back alley. Welch eine Prophezeiung. Interessant.
It's in another language, but it appears to be a Bible. No title, and it appears to be blank. I wonder if Ronan just kept empty books on his shelf to appear well read. No title. It's in another language. No title.
Ich hätte es gesagt, da ist irgendwas versteckt. Aber anscheinend nicht.
Ronan wasn't too concerned with comfort, apparently. This is hardly bigger than a bunk at sea. Ronan wasn't. I had an illustration that looked similar to that one. I wonder where it ended up. I guess Ronan won't be realizing his world travel dreams now. Death really has a way of messing up your plans.
Ach, Bill. Ja, ich und singen. Gute Idee. Interessant. Also, was heißt interessant? Es ist alles interessant, aber zu wissen. Habe ich die... Vielleicht kann ich sie zu dem Opiumkram befragen.
You got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
Are you familiar with someone who goes by the name Jimbo?
No, I don't think so. Who is that?
A friend of Ronan's.
No, as I told you, I didn't know Ronan to have any friends. I especially don't recall him mentioning anyone called Jimbo.
Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Tja. Sie hat keine Ahnung, dass ihr Bruder einen heimlichen Liebhaber hatte, aber ich versuche mal diesen Crimson... Ah, da ist sie. Cat zu finden. Ja, ich gehe jetzt zur Police Station, dann gehe ich zur Crimson Cat.
I was beginning to wonder when you'd show up.
Well, wonder no longer. I'm here and I need to see Dr. Edwards.
Right. You know the way. Snelling isn't in today, so you're all clear.
Welch
Well,
ein
that's a relief.
glücklicher Zufall.
Thanks, Upton. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Edwards.
Ah, Fordham. Always a pleasure.
Have you
Immer
got time
einer,
for
der mich nett
questions?
begrüßt.
Of course.
So what can you tell me about Ronan Lespay?
Caucasian male, approximately 27 years old. Died of blood loss as a result of being shot at close range. He was brought in 4 nights ago. I performed the post-mortem the following day. After that, his next of kin was contacted. I believe his sister came to identify the body.
Any personal opinions on what might have happened?
Well, the fact he was shot at such a close range would suggest it was done by someone he knew. And robbery doesn't appear to be a motive, since his wallet was found on the body with money in it. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine.
Better, I hope.
Did the post-mortem reveal anything?
Quite a few things, actually. Mr. Lespay was extremely inebriated when the shooting took place. There was enough
Inebriated?
alcohol in his blood to presume he had been drinking for hours before his death. I also managed to remove the bullet from his heart. It's a .36 caliber lead ball, standard revolver shot. It shouldn't be too hard to match to a weapon, provided you can find it.
Ich habe doch.
I found this pistol at the scene of the Lespay crime. Did you take a look and see if it was used to murder him?
It's all slimy. Where was it?
Sitting at the bottom of a storm drain.
Oh, I suppose that's not as exciting as finding it inside someone's intestines. Did I ever tell you about that post-mortem, by the way?
No, I certainly don't want to hear about it now. How long will it take you to analyze that pistol?
I should have something conclusive within the hour, if you don't mind waiting.
No, it'll give me some time to gather my thoughts.
Right. I've concluded my analysis, and this gun was definitely used to shoot Mr. Lespay.
Ja.
The bullet I removed from his body is a perfect match.
Thank you, Edwards. That is extremely helpful.
There's one more thing. I cleaned off some of the muck and found the initials JB etched into the handle.
Das ist schon hilfreicher.
My expertise with guns is purely forensic, so I can't determine if this is the gun's maker or the initials of its owner. That's going to have to be your job.
Thank you, Edwards. Help is always appreciated. Did you notice anything unusual about the clothes Mr. Lespay was wearing?
Unusual? Not really. They seemed a bit big for him, but that's all.
His sister seemed convinced that they didn't belong to him.
That's a distinct possibility, but I couldn't say for sure. He could have just been a sloppy dresser.
How's the coroner business?
Things have been pretty dead around here lately.
Don't quit your day job, Edwards. What are your thoughts on the election?
There was an election?
I think our friend Edwards needs to get out a bit more.
I'll be going now, Edwards.
Take care, Fordham. And remember, not everyone gets to leave the morgue alive, so consider yourself lucky that you can.
Edwards must have some very good friends in the department to have gotten this custom-made table. It does suit the room, though.
Okay.
Can we talk for a moment, Upton?
Certainly. What's on your mind?
You wouldn't happen to know anything about Ronan Lespay, would you?
Probably nothing more than you already know. His body is in the mortuary, and the reason for his murder is unknown. I suggest you speak with Dr. Edwards.
I'm guessing you can't go over this case with me either.
I have to distance myself completely from this one. So when you figure it out, you'll need to speak directly to Mrs. Morgan. I can still try and help you if there's something specific giving you trouble, though.
How are things with you?
Better than last week, but plenty of feathers still ruffled around here.
What happened?
You have to ask. Snelling was not happy with you turning up at the Latham crime scene. It was a right inquisition around here. Snelling going around to interrogate everyone, trying to ferret out a leak.
So he suspects.
I'm afraid so. I managed to calm him down some and divert suspicion. He thinks someone on the force is speaking to the Gazette, not to you directly.
Well, that's some kind of relief. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, don't worry about me. Well, maybe worry about me a little.
That was one hell of an election, wasn't it?
That it was. I don't know how he managed it, but I'm glad Leroy won.
I can't say I agree, but I'm not really surprised. Leroy may have started as something of a dark horse, but his campaign had been gaining a lot of steam leading up to the election. Pun not intended.
Yes, well, it's the Steam Tech issue that clinched it. When something like the Ligeia happens, people start to wake up and wonder if we really want contraptions like that in our lives.
You have to admit, he was playing up on people's fears. Not exactly the most honorable way of getting into office.
Fordham, since when have politics ever been honorable?
Upton, I need you to put out a bulletin. There's someone I need found.
Oh, who's that?
I don't know his name. I only have a description.
All right, I'll need to ask you a few questions. Could you describe the man's height and build?
Ja, shit.
He's average height, with a medium build.
All right. What color is his hair?
I'm sure it's brown.
All right. Do you know of any unique details that might make him easier to identify?
I was told he was dressed all in black.
I see. Well, I'll put out the bulletin, but that's a bit of a generic description.
Hoffentlich war
All
das jetzt
right.
nicht
The bulletin is out. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
komplett
Thanks, Upton.
daneben.
I appreciate the help.
Shit. Tall man, shit. Beard. Beard. Ich hab komplett versagt.
Can we talk for...
Certainly.
I'll let you get back to...
And
Nein, stopp, warte. Ich muss den Strange
Can
Man.
we...
certainly.
Can I try...
Sure. Could
He's tall.
All right.
I'm sure. He has a beard. Or mutton chops.
I see. Well, I'll put out the bulletin, but that's a bit of a generic description. All right, the bulletin is out. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Thanks, Upton. I appreciate the help.
Okay.
Ah, the Crimson Cat. One of my favorite underground clubs. Ooh, I spent some wild nights here. Which reminds me, I wonder if Stefan is still working the bar these days.
Ja.
This place has been around for quite some time. That well-dressed feline is Red, the official mascot.
Wie kreativ.
Good old Bollingworth Ale. Unlike so many other things in life, it never lets you down. Well, not while you're drinking it anyway. The next morning is another story entirely. Attention customers. Use of Dr. Tennyson's vigor pills while under the influence of alcohol may cause loss of consciousness. It's nice to see this establishment looking out for its patrons.
Ja, toll.
Seagrave's Stasholine, high-quality mustache wax. You know, I always wondered what you'd look like with a mustache.
Nein, danke.
Looks like a view of Claremont Street with St. Denis Cathedral in the background. Call me old-fashioned, but I've always felt the piano should be played by an actual human. These automated ones just don't have any soul.
Das ist korrekt, ja. Haben sie nicht. Wie auch.
Looks like they've got Bollingworth, Millhopper, and Brooklyn Lager. Not a bad set of beers. Quite the selection. It rivals even the Angel. Fine beer always served here. Good to know.
Und True Poetry auf jeden Fall. Reden wir mal
Beg your
mit.
pardon. Your name wouldn't happen to be Jimbo, would it?
Yeah? Who's asking?
Miles Fordham, private investigator.
Can a guy enjoy his shore leave without being harassed by the law? I've done nothing wrong.
I didn't say you had, and I'm most certainly not the law. I just want to ask you a few questions.
All right, fine.
You know Ronan Spey?
I knew him, yeah.
Knew him?
He and I haven't spoken recently. In about a month, actually. Things didn't go so well last time.
How do you mean?
Let's just say we didn't part on the best of terms. He made it very clear that he didn't want to speak to me again.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered?
What? No, when? What happened?
He was shot outside a tavern in Chumley 4 nights ago.
Chumley? What was he doing there?
I was hoping perhaps you could tell me.
I honestly don't know. Ronan hardly went out, and he especially never crossed the river.
Why was that?
I think he was just too scared of the world to go out and see it for himself. He was happy enough reading about it in his books or collecting things I brought him back from my travels. Honestly, that's what I liked most about him. He was just an average, boring man. It was just the sort of balance I needed in my life.
That's pretty much the exact same reason I always enjoyed working with you, Miles.
Oha.
You and Ronan had a special relationship, didn't you?
Du kannst es ruhig
Mr.
sagen.
Fordham,
Meine
we're
Fresse.
in an underground club. You don't have to tap dance around it. Yes, Ronan and I were a couple. At least up until last month.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
We had a misunderstanding. Ronan thought I had been seeing someone else. He was extremely jealous. I tried to explain that he had it all wrong, but he wouldn't hear me out.
Das ist jetzt
I was
für
going to give him some time
Jimbo
to
nicht
cool
gerade
off.
der Grund, ihn zu
Well,
erschießen.
That's not going to happen now, is it?
If it's any consolation, I found a letter you wrote him, which he still kept in his desk.
Damn. Thank you for telling me that.
Where does the name Jimbo come from?
It's just a nickname. My real name's James Bowcroft.
And what is it you do?
I'm a sailor. I thought you detective types were supposed to be able to observe it.
Dumm, dass der Name
Shouldn't you
den
be able to
Initialen
tell
auf der
me
Waffe
what my
entspricht.
occupation was just by looking at my fingernails or something?
Sorry to disappoint. Perceptiveness is important in my line of work, but I'm also just a man.
I think perhaps Jimbo has been reading too many of those detective stories in Brentwood.
Vermutlich.
Do you have any opinions about the recent election?
Not really. I'm usually way at sea, so I don't keep up with politics. The sea's got her own laws. Anyway, I can't vote, so it's really none of my concern.
But you're still affected by the decisions the Prime Minister makes.
Not very fair, is it, Mr. Fordham?
No, I suppose it isn't. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Something tells me we've reached a dead end. You should give Mrs. Morgan the bad news.
Wieso haben wir ein Dead End erreicht?
Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
I've completed my investigation of your brother's murder, Mrs. Morgan.
You have?
Hab ich?
Oh, that's such a relief to hear. Who killed him?
Actually,
Nein, ich bin noch nicht fertig.
Those are
All right.
Ich bin verwirrt.
Can we talk for a minute?
Certainly.
Can I try giving you that description again?
Sure. Could you just...
He's tall.
All right.
I'm sure he has a beard.
I see. All right.
Thanks, Upton.
Das war doch richtig, oder? Warte. Hä, wieso habe ich keine... Warum ist der Case unsolvable? Was habe ich falsch gemacht? Ich verstehe es nicht.
Have you got...
Yes. You have...
I'm afraid I don't know.
What?
I had some leads, but I botched things. I wasn't able to follow through. I'm sorry.
Well, some detective you turned out to be. I
Hab ich?
can't understand why you were so highly recommended.
Was habe ich hier wieder falsch
Truly
gemacht?
sorry, Mrs. Morgan. Perhaps I can...
No, that's quite enough. I don't need you to grovel. Just go away.
Good day to you, Mrs. Morgan.
You know, Miles,
Warum?
you've been coming in here a lot lately, but you've never looked quite this glum. What's going on?
I've bungled things pretty badly at home. Been staying with a friend the past couple of weeks.
I see. What happened?
I haven't been honest with my wife. Coming here and drowning my sorrows hasn't really helped, oddly enough. And yet, it's all I can do to keep from going crazy.
You know, Miles, I've seen and heard a lot of things over the years. Some of the stories would turn your hair white. But through it all, I've come to learn one thing. It's usually not too late to make things better, but only if you let yourself try.
Thank you for the advice, Patrick.
All I can do is give it, Miles. Whether you choose to take it or not is entirely up to you. Now, would you like another gin?
No, thank you. This time I really do need to be on my way.
Ich muss es machen, auch wenn es falsch
I
ist.
should go and see how my wife is doing.
I see. Well, have a good night, Miles. And good luck to you.
Ich muss gucken.
Who in the ether?
Sie wird mich wieder rausschmeißen, sie wird sauer sein, aber ich muss.
Miles? This is a surprise.
Addie, it's so good to see you. I've been such an idiot lately.
Well, I'm glad you can admit to it. Would you like to come in?
Ja.
Very much.
Lass uns reden. Ich erzähle dir auch alles, wenn es sein muss.
Was there something you wanted to talk about?
I've given it a lot of thought, and I think it's time I finally told you the truth.
Miles, what are you doing? You know this is a terrible idea.
Nein, es ist keine Terror-Arbeit.
Truth?
Yes.
About why I've been acting the way I have been since Bill died.
Well, go on. I'm listening.
Don't do it, Miles. You know it's a one-way ticket to Riverview if you do.
I've been hearing Bill's voice ever since he died.
Fordham, what is wrong with you?
Nichts.
Voice?
I can't believe this! You've just destroyed your life! I hope you realize that!
Yes, In my head, at all hours.
Ich bin halt
That's
ehrlich.
why I was taking the soporific. It was the only way to keep him quiet. Or so I thought. Turns out that alcohol has the same effect.
What does he say to you?
The type of things he'd say when he was alive. Snarky comments, inappropriate jokes. Mainly he nags me to find the flower shop burglar. He thinks doing that will let him find peace and move on.
I see.
I told you you'd think I was crazy.
Don't be ridiculous, Miles. It's nothing like that. It's just, I wish you had told me sooner is all.
I know, but I was afraid.
Well, I'm glad you finally trusted me. You know, you could have all along.
Wollte ich ja.
You're all right with it?
It is quite a lot to take in. I think I'll need some time to mull it over. But what matters now is that we can work through this together.
Ja. Ja,
understand.
genau das.
Well, I should probably go. It was lovely to see you again, Addie.
Lovely to see you too, Miles.
Wieso muss
Perhaps
ich
I'll
gehen?
stop by again next week.
Or sooner, if you'd like.
Sure. Like the men in white coats aren't gonna have you taken away by then.
Right. I'll see myself out then.
Gut, wenn ich jetzt
Good night,
eingewiesen werde, dann
Miles.
werde ich halt eingewiesen, aber es ist wichtiger, ihr die Wahrheit zu sagen, als auf Bills Gefühle Rücksicht zu nehmen.
Fordham, wake up.
Huh? He just leapt over the side. I don't... Oh, Upton. What's going on?
Goodness, Fordham. You look terrible. Is everything all right?
Just had some trouble sleeping. More than usual.
Well, I hope you've rested enough, because I've got something very
Oh,
important to show
ich
you.
hab jetzt schon
Oh,
Angst.
wonderful. If we're sharing information now, are you gonna tell Upton about me as well?
Nein.
What is it?
There's been a murder.
Oh oh.
I assume this one is special somehow, or you wouldn't be bringing it to me.
I thought that great detectives never assumed.
There are exceptions to every rule.
Was ist
Anyway,
passiert?
you're right. The victim in question is a member of Parliament, a man named Percival McDonough, to be precise. But this is the real corker. The murder is clearly the work of the Justice Killer.
The Justice Killer. Is that the mass
Der war in der
murderer I've been
Zeitung.
hearing about?
The very same.
Why Justice Killer, though?
It's part of his modus operandi. He kills his victims with a single gunshot to the head, then writes the word justice somewhere in the room with the victim's blood.
Talk about melodramatic.
The
Entzückend.
police are stumped. This is the killer's 5th victim, and there isn't a single lead.
So you want me to investigate?
Not just yet. First, I need you to look at these sketches.
You took crime scene sketches from the department?
Of course not. I made copies with the station's Pharaoh duplicator. These
Nennt
killings
man
need to
auch
stop,
Kopierer.
and I believe you can succeed where the department has so far failed.
So, what am I looking for?
The police went over each crime scene with a fine-toothed comb and turned up practically no useful physical evidence. I want a second opinion from you. If you can find some sort of link between them, it might be possible to track this monster down.
It's a shot in the dark. I can't guarantee I'll find anything that the police didn't see, but it's worth a look.
Auf jeden Fall, ja.
Here are the 4 sketches. Have a look at them and see if you notice anything that might help us find this maniac.
Okay. Wenn ich in irgendwas gut bin, dann wahrscheinlich da drin.
Wait, what's that? I see an important clue. Just kidding.
Danke, Bill.
Maybe you should write crazy over your bed. Boring, just like everything else in this sketch.
Bill, lass mich in Ruhe.
Boring. Wait, what's... Maybe you should... Yeah, he's dead. Big deal.
Du auch, du Vollidiot. Mann, ey.
I'm really not in the mood to be analyzing crime scene sketches right now. I'm really not...
Aber da sind überall Blumen. Bill.
I don't feel like looking at dead bodies right now. Is there something more exciting we could be doing? Oh, were you hoping for some witty insight? Shame, because you're not getting any.
Bill, hör auf
I'm
so
sure this is
eine
terribly
Bitch zu
relevant,
sein.
but I've got nothing to say about it.
Hab ich dir gerade nicht gesagt? Hör auf so eine...
Whoever drew this was a hack. That looks more like a piece of toast than a flower.
Interesting.
Oh, what? You actually found something without my help? I'm shocked.
Ja, es sind überall Blumen. Sag ich doch.
If only you hadn't told Adelaide about me, I might share my thoughts with you. As it is, you're on your own. What's the point? It's not like you're actually going to be able to investigate this case.
Die Klappe, du Vollidiot.
Upton?
What is it, Fordham?
About those crime scene sketches.
Yes?
I think I found a connection.
I knew you would. What is it?
There's a single flower at each crime scene. They look deliberately placed.
There is? Let me have a look. You're right. One lily at each scene.
Wait, what did you say?
These flowers, they're lilies.
Warte
Easter
mal.
lilies, I think.
I don't
Der
believe
Flower
it.
Shop.
Upton, this is incredible. This is the lead I've been searching for.
What? You mean for another case?
The flower shop burglar. He was stealing Easter lilies. And I distinctly remember him saying something about his desire to uphold justice. At
Dann
the
ist
time, I thought it was just the
der...
rambling of a lunatic, but now it seems so obvious.
So the flower shop burglar is the justice killer?
It seems too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Well, then that's wonderful. You can kill two birds with one stone. Excellent work, Fordham. I knew you could do it.
Ha. Woran auch immer ich jetzt
What exactly are the
investigiere.
details regarding this justice killer?
The killings began a few months ago, and so far he's claimed 5 victims. The department wanted to keep this information out of the public eye to prevent a panic, but word has gotten out. On the bright side, it makes your involvement in the case much less suspicious.
What can you tell me about the previous victims?
4 men from Chumley: Hannibal Kirkland, Reggie Willingham, Ennis Bowditch, and Burley Cause. No known connection between any of them aside from the borough they lived in. I have copies of the police reports from each of the crime scenes. Go ahead and take them.
Thank you, Upton.
Documents added. Okay, danke.
What are the details regarding the killer's latest victim?
As I mentioned, the victim is Percival McDonough, a member of Parliament. He was found this morning by his secretary in his office. I expect the official investigation is still underway.
So the killer managed to get into the Houses of Parliament. No easy feat.
You can say that again. It's the killer's first high-profile victim. It means he's getting bolder.
I suppose I'll have to drop by and see for myself. Everything all right with you?
Oh, I'm getting by. I expect things will go back to normal once this killer is caught.
I haven't worn out my welcome here yet, have I?
No, you're still tolerable. But when was the last time you washed your hair?
You're starting to sound like Adelaide. I should get back to it.
Not a bad idea.
Right. I think I have enough information to get started. I think I'll begin with...
Odd. I wasn't expecting company. Chief Snelling?
Uh-oh.
Upton, we need to talk. Fordham, I should have guessed I'd find you here.
Oh. Egal, was ich sage, es ist sowieso das Falsche. Chief Snelling, what a pleasant surprise. You're the last person I expected to see today. Shouldn't you be out trying to catch the Justice Killer?
Chief Snelling, you're the last person I was expecting to see today.
Likewise, Fordham. However, having you here saves me a bit of trouble.
Trouble?
Oh,
Those are some rather interesting decorations.
Oh,
Would
nein.
either of you
Oh,
care
shit.
to explain how they got here?
And once again, the jig is up. I hope you can talk your way out of this one too.
Oh, jetzt ist entscheidend, was ich sage. I took the sketches from the police department myself. I asked Upton to get those sketches for me. I told Upton it was wrong to take those sketches. Nein, ich muss es auf mich selbst nehmen.
I brought them here, after I made duplicates and took them from the police department.
Nice try, Fordham, but I know for a fact that isn't true. The Ferro-Duplicator makes a report of every employee who uses it, as well as what was copied.
Das kann er gar
Another
nicht.
useful feature for instances such as these. Wouldn't you agree?
These gadgets are gonna be the undoing of us all.
Ja.
In any case, I did some digging and discovered some intriguing information.
Intriguing.
Upton, why have you been passing on classified police information to Mr. Fordham?
Because he's the best detective you ever had on the force, and you know it.
Is that right? Personally, I don't consider getting your partner killed the mark of a great detective.
Das passiert
But
halt.
what's done is done. Constance Upton, your employment with the New Britannia Police Department is
Nein!
hereby terminated.
But
I should add that it's only because of your 25 years of dedicated service that I'm not pressing charges against you. But as for you, Fordham, I have enough evidence to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice and interfering with police investigations. Do you have
Das
anything to
ist
say in your defense
nicht
before I
gut.
take you in for questioning?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I know who the Justice Killer is.
Fordham, if this is your idea of a diversion...
It's true. I found a link in the sketches of the crime scenes.
All right, let's hear it then. What do you think you found?
I'll tell you if you promise to let me take the case.
Vielleicht
Out
komme
of
ich
the
da noch
question,
raus.
Fordham. This is a police
Vielleicht
matter.
komme ich da noch
and the
raus.
police haven't made progress in months. Fordham figured it out in a matter of minutes. Admit it, Snelling. Fordham is your best shot at finding the killer.
Ja,
Are you gonna let your personal differences put the people of this city in danger?
würde er nie.
Fine. I'll let you continue to operate as an assistant in this case, if you have actually found something of value. Now, what is this link?
He leaves a single Easter lily at each crime scene. The same type of flowers the burglar in the chum was stealing.
I see. A tenuous link, but plausible.
Danke.
I'll give you until tomorrow afternoon. If you haven't come up with anything, I'm throwing you in jail.
Sounds fair to me.
And don't get any clever ideas about leaving town either.
Warum
Would
sollte
I do
ich?
something like that?
Fordham, it seems there's no telling what you might do. I'm probably a fool for not clapping you in irons right here and now. When you have something to report, come find me in my office. Don't make me regret this.
Well, that went better than I expected.
Except you're still fired. I didn't have a chance to get him to change his mind.
We'll worry about that after you catch the killer. In the meantime, I could use a drink. I'll see you later, Fordham.
Well, better get to work then. The clock is ticking.
Edward's campaign hired men to find unsuspecting victims, ply them with alcohol, and then force them to vote multiple times in disguise in order to increase Edward's chances of re-election. Okay. Mass murder, tragic election. Spectre Society was arrested yesterday on charges of fraud after an extensive undercover operation by the New Britannia police discovered that she was exploiting her clients and robbing them of their money. Detective Lester Barnett attended several meetings under an assumed name, during which he observed Miss Maxwell's ruse. She would claim her client was cursed, then offer healing services for a fee. The client clients would pay then exorbitant amounts of money over a period of time to be cured, and a representative of the New Britannia police offered his warning. We urged the public to be extremely wary of anyone claiming to be able to communicate with spirits or deceased loved ones. Interessant. Dann gehen wir mal.
Fordham, what brings you to this delightful spectacle?
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Good. I'll just get started then.
Nicht drüber
Looks
laufen.
pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with.
Danke, dass er drumherum läuft. Befriedigt sehr viel in
You'd think
meiner
he could have at least
inneren...
been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here.
Nicht? Schade.
History books and political theory. I might die of boredom. Again.
Danke, Bild, dass du wieder so bist wie vorher, aber...
The former Percival McDonough, being a good politician.
So funny. Warte mal, Kalender.
Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. Do you suppose Edwards might know anything about that? Nothing has been written in yet for next month. Curious. Odd.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit. Anyway, there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Danke.
Is that all?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the Justice Killer.
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is still lodged in his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket. It's blank, so the police weren't interested.
Schade.
I assume you aren't either.
Doch,
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
Gib's her. Okay.
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
Did you find an Easter lily anywhere?
An Easter lily?
Yes. The Justice Killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
So how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
Ich bin der beste Profiler, den ihr
What's your
habt.
take on this whole Justice Killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work, let me tell you. We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Ah, yes. Gascon Ghoul. Now there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty. If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
Does it feel good to be out of the office?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am. Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain. There's so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything. Present company excluded, of course.
Edwards, did you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Which means there was probably something incriminating written on it. If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Hat vermutlich einen Termin gehabt mit dem Killer, weil wenn der reingekommen ist in das Parlament. Pencil?
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this one.
Thank you.
Wozu?
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
Okay, ich werde mich nochmal weiter umsehen.
Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office. No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window. The former... A classic trick. Let's see if it works.
Ich glaube, Ruby 8 a.m.
Aha! McDonough met with this person the night of the murder. I'll bet 500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something. Intriguing. We'll need to find out who this Ruby is.
No time to waste. No time to waste with further conversation.
Manu, ich wollte ihn nach Ruby fragen, aber ich fürchte, das werde ich nicht rausfinden.
Looks pretty fresh.
Nur um sicher zu
Nothing
gehen.
but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least...
So, dann schauen wir doch mal. Die arme... Oh Gott.
What? Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. Your butler just announced me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me. I was just, well, never mind. Please make yourself comfortable, Mr. Fordham.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonough.
Oh, okay.
They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worthless. I feel sorry for the sucker who has to clean them.
Was ist denn ein Knickknack? Naja.
Just a painting of some boring old aristocrat. Surely this one was called Lady Felicity Euphemia Beaversnatch the Simple.
Ich nehme das als meinen Namen an.
Lord Alfred Edward Shufflebottom the Wise comes to mind when looking at this one. This one looks like Lady Camilla Prudence Wigglewaddle. I'll call this one Lord Edmund Henry Lickspittle the Elder. They look expensive.
Gut. Ich mag das.
They look expensive.
I appreciate you seeing me, Mrs. McDonough. I know you must be going through a difficult time right now.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mr. Fordham? I already spoke to the police about my husband's
Scheiße, ich lebe schon
murder.
1 Stunde 3,
I
aber
just
ich
have
muss
a few
mal...
questions of my own.
Oh,
mal Schluss
very
machen.
well.
What can you tell me about your husband?
I'll tell you the same thing I told the police, Mr. Fordham. Percival was one of the hardest working members of Parliament. He took his job extremely seriously. The recent election caused him a terrible amount of consternation, as I'm sure it did most people. He took Atwood's loss rather hard.
Did you see much of him?
I beg your pardon?
Surely someone with such an important position in government could find themselves consumed by their work. Did he spend much time at home?
He made it a point to come home and have dinner with me every night, even if he had to return to the office afterwards.
And did that happen often?
At least 3 or 4 times in a week, yes. He'd stay in his office working late into the night.
Working.
As I said, he was very dedicated to his role.
Sounds to me like she's quite dedicated to hers, too.
Did your husband have any enemies?
He was a politician, Mr. Fordham. Half the city hated him.
Did he ever receive any kind of threats against his life?
None that I was ever made aware of. I have no idea who could have killed him, let alone who could have gotten into his office to do it. He hadn't told me about any meetings or appointments this week either.
Was it his custom to inform you of his work affairs?
Oh, well, I've always taken an interest in my husband's work. He'd often mention initiatives he was working on or people he was meeting, that sort of thing. Nothing sensitive or confidential, you understand. Just conversation about his day.
Can you think of any reason why your husband would have been murdered?
Not really. He was a vocal opponent of the construction of the Gascogne-Chumley Bridge, but I hardly think that would have been sufficient reason to drive someone to murder.
Why is that?
Well, it's just a bridge, isn't it? There are plenty of other ways to get to Chumley.
I meant, why was he opposed to it?
Oh, because the amount of money required to build it is exorbitant. Public funds should be used on roads and buildings that are falling apart. What's the point of having something shiny and new if everything around it is in disrepair?
How are you feeling, Mrs. McDonough?
My husband of 42 years was shot in his office. How do you think I feel?
Tactful as always, Fordham. What are you doing?
My apologies. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate question. Is there anything I can do to help?
You can start by finding the monster who murdered Percival.
Do you know anyone named Shackley?
No, I've never heard that name before. Why?
I saw your husband had a meeting scheduled with him shortly before his murder.
That can't be right. He didn't tell me about that. He always told me about his meetings.
It was written on his office calendar, clear as day.
As I said, I don't know who that person is. Why wouldn't Percival have told me about their meeting?
Why indeed?
Are you familiar with someone named Ruby?
I can't say I am. Who is it?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
Sounds like the name of a trollop. Or perhaps a dog.
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
That was the name the police mentioned when they told me about Percival's murder. It's absolutely terrifying to think that one sick person could be capable of such evil. Why is he called the Justice Killer? What justice was done by murdering my husband?
I'm afraid I can't answer that right now, Mrs. McDonough, but I intend to find out. Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Okay, ich muss jetzt wirklich Schluss machen. Save. Save. Ich speichere auch nochmal, weil, ne? Sicher ist sicher. Und wünsche euch damit noch einen schönen Abend, Tag, wie auch immer. Und bis zum nächsten Mal.